start with the parts of a market rabbit. This rabbit is to go to market today. We always judge them going to market as they are today. And so the most important parts of your rabbit are going to be the shoulders, which is the area right behind the neck before it starts to rise up over top of the saddle, which is mostly where the ribs are. After the saddle becomes the wide muscle called the loin. It's in between each hip, and that's where you're going to receive a lot of the meat. You're going to have the highest yield from the loin. And then moving on to the rump, which is pretty much the hindquarters of the animal. So between the shoulders, the loin, and the rump is where you're going to find the highest yield of meat from your market rabbit. Because they're going to market today, we don't need to look at the head, eyes, ears, nose, feet, fur. None of it is really judgeable or will yield any type of product for the owner. So mostly the shoulders, saddle, loin, and rump. When you go to judge a rabbit, you must get in and feel the animal, because just looking at them you cannot tell how much meat is on the animal, so you need to get in there and feel it. The best way to do that is to pose the animal with the feet under the hips and the front feet pointing forwards. You're going to start at the base of the neck at the shoulders and just run your hand lightly over the top of the rabbit's body. You're feeling for how smooth the animal is, how much depth and width is over its entire body. If you can feel a lot of bones, then it won't have much coverage of meat. If your hand gets stopped somewhere, that usually means it's bony, and again, it won't have much meat. But if your hand flows nice and smoothly over the animal, that's a good indication that there's enough meat on the animal to go to market. On the other hand, if there's a lot of extra skin that you can jiggle around, that is not good. That's an indicator that your rabbit is over finished and there will be just a lot of wastiness on your animal. So this is our first sample, the one with the bent ear. You can see that there's lots of width in the hindquarters. It starts really wide at the shoulder and flows throughout the loin and into the hindquarters. It's very smooth, it's not bumpy at all, quite muscular. And there is always lots of width throughout the entire body. Nowhere is it pinched or tight or anything like that. So that's sample bunny number 1. So, compared to our first animal, this animal probably doesn't look that much different. You probably can't even tell that I switched them, but I did. You'll notice that the size looks pretty much the same. However, when you go on closer inspection and you feel the animal, there's a high lack of meat covering all of the bones. It's also not as deep through the body and not as wide through the shoulders or the loin. Also, the rump is weaker. There's not as much depth or height or smoothness over the entire animal. It's really important to get in with the animals and feel them in order to find the meat and to find the highest quality rabbit in your class. So in this class of market rabbits, this rabbit is placed over top of this rabbit due to the fact that rabbit number 1 is wider through the shoulders, throughout the saddle, continuing on through the loin, and throughout the rump. Rabbit number 1 is also smoother throughout the entire body compared to rabbit number 2. And number 1 will yield more meat because the animal has a larger body mass, greater body capacity, and overall more bone to hang the meat on compared to rabbit number 2. You can probably see the difference, especially in the depth of loin. Here's our more superior animal.
Okay, how would I judge the rabbit?
Okay, well you want to start by posing the rabbit how you feel is appropriate. You want to make sure that the legs are positioned right underneath the hips. The hip bone is right here, you can feel it. And the toes should be right under it. And the legs should be under the nose. The front leg should be under the rabbit's nose. Then you want to gently slide your hands starting at the base of the neck, flat over top of the animal. Slowly but surely feel throughout the animal. Feel for the muscling, the condition, and the smoothness. You can also touch the sides of the animal, and with your index finger and thumb, start at the base of the neck and slide it up and over to feel the loin between the two hips, to feel this muscle in between.